Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again for another Film Fanatic show. It is 10:32 on a Thursday morning, January 15th. Pretty warm day. Wicked warm and kind of strange weather patterns lately. They're kind of getting pretty wintry there for a while. We had a little bit of snow, but we had a few different storms, and we had Christmas was awesome, and also on New Year's Day it was kind of perfect because like it snowed a lot on Christmas Eve, which was perfect, and then Christmas Day it snowed again, which was awesome, and then on New Year's Day it snowed. So it was kind of like picture perfect, in the movie sense for the holidays. And we had a little bit of snow since then, maybe one storm, and then a little dusting. Now it's been in the 40s. It's all melty, but all the ice, it's gotten everything is like gotten pretty icy and kind of crappy. But anyway, so yeah, I want to thank. There's been a lot of folks I've gotten a new bunch of people who have subscribed to this channel in the last few weeks to the last month or so. Really appreciate that, and especially a lot of the new folks who have been commenting on my wacky videos. To me, that's one of the probably my favorite thing because I respond to every comment, and everything and anything is welcomed. I don't delete comments. I don't really have too many people. I've never really. I mean, maybe a couple times where people are kind of maybe they come across as pretty rude or maybe they kind of come across as like a jerk, but it doesn't happen too often. It's pretty rare. It's happened a few times, but whatever you want to say or do in regards to leaving a comment, I never censor it. I don't edit it or delete any comments. So it's great. I believe firmly in freedom of expression on this channel. So no, even if it's a whatever, I don't care. I won't delete your comment. But I do usually respond to comments. As I try to respond to every comment, whatever it is. So because I really that to me is really fun. It's important, and I've had a lot of cool people turn me on to a lot of movies that I have not heard about, and it's just great getting like a sense of like kind of immediate feedback on something too, which is really nice. And I find too for myself, it just helps kind of helps me get hopefully get better at doing this whole thing and learn about it because I'm not I'm kind of this is like a pure passion project and I just love it to death. So and I did mention this the other day, I think in the last video, that last week I had a friend in town and I hadn't seen her in a long time. We were like old friends back. We've known each other for a super long time, but then we kind of reconnected a couple times, and then I saw her about 3 or 4 years ago, and we were hanging out for a few months, and then kind of fell away from each other for a little while, and then kind of out of the blue, she got in contact with me, and then we hung out last weekend, and it was really great. She's an old friend, and but she came over, and we were hanging out, and we went out to eat and stuff, and did a little bit of partying, and came back to the house, and you know had a couple of beers at dinner, and we had some food, and then we came back here. I had some more beers, and I got a little tipsy, well, kind of drunk, and it was really fun because I, haven't really done that in a long time. So I got a little drunk, and it was super fun, and we were like just hanging out, listening to music, and our plan was to like later on, and it was kind of on the early side, like 9 o'clock, but we were gonna watch. a movie or two later, and then and it was funny because I said, "Well, you're the guest, so you can pick out a movie." So she was in my room checking out my the movies that I have, and her reactions were pretty funny because she was kind of a little bit overwhelmed, and she didn't really know of a lot of the films that I had had, but she was really curious and open to it. So it was pretty funny, and it was kind of cool. And and then while she was doing that, I was in the living room here, or my TV room, where my TV is, and I was, we were listening to music, and I listen to CDs, and I was putting CDs, I was putting a CD away, and I have a CD shelf right by my TV. Somehow I knocked the TV over, and the whole fucking screen cracked. Yeah, but I got a new TV that just arrived. I think it came in the mail yesterday. I'm gonna be hooking it up probably in the next day or two. But in the meantime, I've been watching. I've came across, and again, I'm a person who uh, hates watching movies online. But every now and then, if I'm in a real pinch to see a movie that I've heard about over and over again, and I can't find it, and it's like kind of frustrating, and but I need to see it. So there has been, of course, exceptions of where, in my state of pure desperation, I will find the movie and watch it. Most of the time when it happens, it's kind of shit because the quality's really bad, or there's commercial interruptions, or there's But sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So there were a few movies that, and this was a year. This was this one. This example was not that long ago, maybe like 5 or 6 months ago, or last. It was definitely last year. But there was a movie I kept hearing about. Well, no, actually, um, scratch that. I randomly, which I personally think is the best way to discover things. I love some of the some of my favorite things that I love, whether it's a band, um, also a YouTube channel. I mean, just there's so many examples of it, or just even hearing about a movie for the first time. I love it when it's just totally by chance, and you're just you're doing your thing, and you're checking something out, and then something pops up that looks, oh, okay, that sounds cool, or you're watching a video, podcast, and the guy or girl mentions something that like piques your curiosity, and then or you just come across something, and then you go check it out, and then you're like completely blown away by it. Or there's other times something you hear about, and it's like really hyped up, and then you go to actually investigate it, and it's like you know not not very good. But that had happened. One of my favorite examples of that happening was a few years. Well, I actually wasn't. Yeah, it was like last year. I was on YouTube just like scrolling around, and it was kind of late at night, 11:30, 12 or something, just randomly scrolling. Or no, I was watching some movie stuff like I usually do, and I noticed as I was watching the video, on my feed, this other video had popped up, and this guy was basically the headline, or the tag was, the scariest. Basically, he was like saying that he had seen the scariest movie ever, and but nobody knows about it, kind of a thing. And a lot of the times, when you the clickbait thing and all that stuff is BS, and you can, I think you can kind of tell right away, or it's that it's transparent and that you can see right through it. So, but anyway, I was really curious, so I checked out this quick review of this film, and this guy was talking about this movie called Lake Mungo, and it was an Australian movie. It came out about 15 or 20 years ago. It was this kind of, shot on video, or like not shot on video, more of like a mockumentary, like kind of found footage style. And this guy had said that this was like one of the scariest movies he's ever seen. And there was something about the way he was talking about the movie that, I was like, okay, this guy is, pretty smart, and it just, and I was digging his vibe, and I was really interested in what he was saying. And he was given a pretty good case as to like why he believes that this movie was so good. So after I watched this little review of the film, and it was short, it was like 15 minutes, I was just like, okay, fuck it, I need to see this movie. It worked, and I was like, okay. So I spent like an hour trying to find this movie, Lake Mungo. Couldn't find it. I had never heard of this movie, and I was like, okay, it piqued my curiosity, so I was like, I got to see it. Got a little obsessed, and then I found it on Tubi, and the quality was not very good. There were commercials. Um, it was a pain in the ass watching it, but when I actually, from what I actually watched of the movie, I was totally blown away by it. And I'm like, this movie is amazing, amazing. And then later that week, I found it online, and I found that there was a Blu-ray. There's a Blu-ray version of it, and so I immediately ordered it, and now I own it. So that was like probably the best example of that. But anyway, since the TV broke, I found this really great YouTube channel. And again, I don't like to watch movies online very often because I love to, obviously the best way to see a movie is in the theater. That's the ultimate way. I do have a pretty nice sound system here. I love, obviously, I'm a physical media guy, so I always watch Blu-rays, and and I love high quality audio. I have all kinds of issues as to or reasons as to why I don't watch stuff online because of those very things. But I found this random YouTube channel, and this guy, the Film Crypt, he had all of these really obscure um, exploitation movies, all horror movies, and everything from fantasy to exploit to like horror films to what have you. And I'm like, this looks awesome. And pretty much there was only one or two of the movies that I saw on this channel that I had heard about or that I had seen. And so I was like, fuck it. Okay, I'm going to check out these videos. Because I had done a watch along thing with a guy, Pizzowell, who is a YouTube channel guy, and he did one for a movie called Silent Night. I think it's called Dead, Silent Night, Deadly Night. It's a Christmas movie that is a slasher movie from the early 70s, and I watched it, and it was a watch along. And the reason I watched it was because he was saying that this is the only way you can actually watch this movie. It has no physical media. There's no physical media version of the film, which is crazy to think about now. And he said that this quality, this video that's on free on YouTube is the best quality. There is V8 or DVD versions of it, but they're not very good. And I watched it, and I was blown away by this movie. It was amazing. And then I was also I was really surprised by the quality. The quality was really good. So I figured, okay, I'll give this new channel a chance. So I've been watching, while I get my TV situation together, I've been watching these movies, and the quality is really good. There's no commercials. They're all pretty good quality versions of these films, like really good. I'd say probably like pretty good solid version. Like if you have a pretty good DVD version of a particular film, it's kind of like that. So definitely doable. I do have DVDs and Blu-rays of a lot of old exploitation movies, and the quality on some of those is almost unwatchable, like really bad. so because they were probably burned from VHS or transferred. But these videos and these movies are really great. The quality in comparison, it's not as, obviously not as good as obviously not seeing it like seeing it in a theater, and it's not like 4K and it's not Blu-ray, but it's pretty good. And so I've been watching them, and I discovered this franchise. I'm going to be talking about the third and final one. Although I have heard that there are other ones in the franchise, and that is the Deathstalker franchise. I just finished watching the third one that was on this channel, and I absolutely loved it. I think it was probably just about as good as the first one. I uploaded the first Deathstalker show. I was totally blown away. I was totally blown away by that movie. It's a Roger Corman production, so I'm like, Roger Corman. All three of these movies are Roger Corman productions, and anybody out there who doesn't know who Roger Corman is, you gotta you gotta know who he is. He's Roger Corman is one of my kind of personal heroes, if you will. He's one of the greatest. He passed away, I think, a couple of years ago now, but just one of the most iconic guys in cinema, and especially in the world of exploitation. I mean, he produced and also directed so many exploitation movies in the late 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I mean, up until like only a few years ago. So prolific. And his whole thing was like making trying to tell a really good story and trying to, you know, use a lot of imagination and trying to do it with virtually no money. I feel like that's kind of, if anything, Roger Corman, maybe that was like kind of his mission statement. And so there's like hundreds of just fantastic movies that he did. And he produced more movies, I do believe, than he directed. But and so his name is attached to so many fantastic exploitation movies, like women in prison films to like sci-fi exploitation films. You name it. I mean, every style in that realm. Real low budget schlock, but amazing, amazing. I've always been a huge Roger Corman fan, and so I was I was exposed to his films when I was a kid, and I just loved them because I remember even as a kid watching Roger Corman films and being exposed to them, and then seeing like more, I guess, bigger budget Hollywood films at the time, like watching a Roger Corman film and then seeing movies like Child's Play, which is a masterpiece. I love the first one, but there's an obvious, very big difference. And I remember even as a kid, kind of some similarities to Lloyd Kaufman and Trauma. Trauma is another amazing thing in Lloyd Kaufman, but I just was taken back by how low budget these movies were. They were just a little bit more weird, just a little trashier. So I just, and I could see the difference even at a young age. So Roger Corman, and also as a director, I mean, he's an amazing director. I mean, he's directed some amazing films. One of my favorite films of all time is The Mask of the Red Death. He directed that, and I feel like that is my favorite Vincent Price performance. So many good things, so many good things, and so he produced all of these movies, the Deathstalker franchise. And when I discovered these movies, and then I saw that he was the producer, I was just like, whoa, I am so into this. I had, again, I had no idea about, these movies at all. I mean, totally. I was totally surprised. But when I saw that um, his name was attached, I'm like, yep, I am into this. I am in it to win it, without a doubt. There's no, uh, there's no turning back. And so I uploaded the first video for Deathstalker, and uh, thanks again. A lot of people commented on the video. It was a whole new thing for me, and the whole Deathstalker franchise is basically it's kind of like the knockoff or the exploitation version of the classic Conan the Barbarian story or series. It's basically what it is, and I'm a massive fan of fantasy and the whole kind of sword and sorcery um, genre. One that's one of my favorites, and so these movies are all about that. And I just actually uploaded the second Deathstalker 2 Duel of the Titans. I just uploaded that video this morning, and that movie, and it's funny because the first movie I was blown away by. It's so campy, so cheesy. The budget was like $700,000, I think. So in comparison to like Schwarzenegger's um, uh, Conan, directed by John Milius, which is one of my all-time favorite movies. I mean, in comparison to budgets, like Deathstalker is like minuscule. It's so funny, and you can see it. But and the movie is so ridiculous and so campy and silly, but it's really good. Like it's super entertaining. The action is just spectacular, and I was blown away by it. I was just like, it's. I would say out of the three films, although I will say I really liked this third one that I'm talking about today. I thought it was really really good. I like this one a lot better. It's a better movie, I would say, and I liked it a lot more than the second one. So I so I watched the second one, and I just uploaded the video for that one. And I have to say, like, and I did say in the video that that movie again, it's probably one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. But at the same time, I loved every second of it. It's the whole tone of it. It's way more of like a comedy, and it's way more goofy. Even though the first one is obviously very goofy, but it has this like serious kind of thing to it. It's a little darker, and it's pretty gory. It gets more and more violent as the movie goes. The rest of the films in the franchise are there's a lot of great action, even in the second one and third one. But as far as the gore factor, there's not really any gore. And the third one, which is today's main focus, doesn't really have any, I guess, gore per se in it. But the action is still like spectacular. It's got so much action in it, and I feel like the third one is kind of a return to form in I guess in the franchise. Deathstalker 3 and the Warriors from Hell. This is the third one in the franchise. It came out in 1988. So classic 80s. It was directed by Alfonso Cuarón, and this movie was fucking awesome. I really love this movie. It's got like the second film, Duel of the Titans, has like some dialogue and acting in it that is literally will make you cringe, but kind of in a good way. This movie, the writing is actually pretty good. It's better. The way the film is shot, the acting is actually quite a bit better, even though this movie is still super campy and ridiculous, and it's a total Conan the Barbarian ripoff, like a exploitation version. this movie, like the first one, does have like some things about it that make that where the film is, I think actually legitimately entertaining, but it's got a little bit of more a little higher quality to it, so it is just a better experience, and it's a stronger movie. The second one isn't really that, but it's so extremely bad that it's kind of awesome. So it works. But I really enjoyed this film a lot. I thought it was almost as good as the first one. Not as good, but almost as good. The cast is really good. Each one of these movies, they have a different person playing Deathstalker, and John Allen Nelson, who plays Deathstalker in the third movie, is really good in this. I liked him almost as much as the first movie's actor who played Deathstalker, who I can't remember his name offhand. He's really good. He he's actually, I think, a pretty good actor. I think he's got really good charisma. He's a good action star. And he's believable. I think his acting skills, his ability as an actor is actually pretty good. Um, Claudia Incharigu is also in this film. She is amazing. Um, there's some hot babes in this movie. There are hot babes throughout this entire franchise. Also, Carla Sands, Terry Trias, and Tom Christopher. Tom Christopher is the villain in this movie, and he plays Trixaurus, and he's so awesome in this movie. He was one of the actors, the only one of the only actors that I knew of, and he's been in a ton of shows and movies. Tom Christopher, yeah, he's really good in this movie. He kind of makes the movie. He kind of steals the scenes. He's such an awesome villain in this, and he's actually a really good actor. I remember him because I'm like, when I was watching this, I'm like, wait, I totally know who this actor is, and he was in Buck Rogers. Um, he was totally in Buck Rogers, and I'm like, holy shit, that was a show I grew up watching. Yeah, I mean, just so cool, so cool. And Buck Rogers was one of my favorite, science fiction shows growing up. Buck Rogers in the 25th century. Also, Space Raiders. He was in that film, which is I remember seeing that movie. That was a really awesome sci-fi film from '83. Another film called Nola, Addicted, One Life to Live, Blood and Wine. Really awesome actor. Really, really awesome actor. I might have to do a show where I'm just going to talk about him because he's so great in this movie. But yeah, fantastic movie. I thought this movie was just a real kind of thrilling action movie. There's a lot of great action. The last act to this movie is just fantastic. It's a great kind of cap off to the whole kind of story. Although before I watched this third movie, originally when I came across it, I was like, okay, it's a trilogy, but it's a franchise, and the third one's the last one. I'm not totally sure, but I did read a little bit. Not 100% sure, but I did read a little bit that there are also other movies in the franchise, so which I haven't seen. They're not on this page, so I'm curious into looking, definitely looking into that. So we'll see, because again, what happened when I started watching the first one, I was like, when that movie ended, and it's happened with all of the movies. The other thing, and the other thing is they're all very short. They're all like an hour and 17 minutes. The third one is the longest one. It's like an hour and thirty minutes. But they're all short movies, and at the end of at the conclusion of each of these movies, I was just like, "Fuck, I want more." That was my first reaction. I want more. I love this. I love this. This is just ridiculous and fun and awesome. That was my first reaction because a lot of the times now, a lot of movies, and I don't complain about it because if the movie's good, the movie's good. But it's pretty safe to say that generally now, and this year is looking, I think, fantastic for new movies, especially in the horror genre. And then last year, 2025 was a fantastic year in movies. And then I think 2024 was awesome too. 2024 was a really good year for horror as well. And last year. Really great. But generally, safe to say that most movies that are coming out, and I go see, for the most part, most of the movies I see in the theater are new releases. And they are pretty long. They're averaging close to 3 hours. So it is a nice change of pace. And I do say most of the movies that, and there's been so many great films, I don't really think they suffer. I don't think they suffer from being too long. One movie I did rewatch in the theater, which I didn't like when I watched at home, but then I went to like a screening of it, and I actually watched the whole thing, and I enjoyed it quite a bit more. But I still felt it was way too long. Bo was afraid. But for the most part, no, it's not a thing. But so it's just refreshing to watch these movies, this franchise that is, again, it's it's just fun, super fun, and they're obviously very easy to digest. They're easy to understand what's going on, and they're just entertaining as fuck. I love these movies. I totally want to get these movies on Blu-ray without a doubt, and I think I'm gonna definitely do it because I got a gift card from Santa Claus, so we'll see. And I saw that these movies, the first two, I think all of them are, but I definitely want to get at least the first one. That they're all available on Blu-ray and 4K. Fantastic movie. So it was refreshing to watch these movies, and they're just really short. They're to the point. They're fun, and you're in and out. So it's just great. But yeah, what a great, and I don't think this is the conclusion to the franchise, but the way I'm kind of framing this show, I'll say I guess it is kind of the conclusion to the franchise. Uh, it's pretty safe to say. But Deathstalker and the Warriors from Hell from 1988 just completely kicks ass. And do yourself a favor and watch these movies. It will change your life. Thanks again. See you next time.